The room was silent as Judge Judy's gavel struck the bench. The moment it made contact, Tyler Harrington knew this wasn't going to be a typical day. The 18-year-old college student, whose life had been cushioned by privilege and wealth, sat in front of the judge's stern gaze. His designer clothes, his cocky smirk, none of it was going to save him now. "Mr. Harrington," Judge Judy began, her voice calm, but filled with a no-nonsense authority that echoed through the room. "You stand accused of reckless driving, destruction of property, and utter disrespect for the law. What do you have to say for yourself?" Tyler shifted uncomfortably in his seat, his gaze flitting from the judge to the audience. His palms were sweating despite the cool air. "I didn't mean to cause that much trouble, Your Honor," he said, trying to remain composed, though his voice betrayed him. "It was just an accident. I wasn't thinking clearly. I'm sure my dad can take care of it." The last words hung in the air for a moment. My dad can take care of it. The arrogance of youth, the entitlement that came from wealth, Tyler's attempt to brush off the gravity of the situation, none of it impressed Judge Judy. Her eyes narrowed. "Mr. Harrington, it seems you believe that money can fix everything," she said, her voice ice cold now. "But in this courtroom, your wealth does not matter, only facts do." Tyler's face flushed, and for the first time, he felt the full weight of the consequences bearing down on him. His father's wealth had always been his safety net. He'd lived his entire life believing that no matter what he did, no matter how reckless, his family's money would bail him out. But this was different. Across from him sat Raymond Ellis, a 63-year-old janitor with weathered hands and a tired face. His clothes were simple, nothing special, and his demeanor was calm. But behind those calm eyes was the fury of years spent working hard to build a life, only to see it shattered in one moment by someone who didn't care. Raymond had spent weeks working overtime just to pay for his car repairs, and even then, the damage to his Corolla wasn't the worst part. The worst part was Tyler's behavior. The way he laughed it off, the way he treated Raymond like he was nothing. Tyler's words had stuck with Raymond long after the accident. "It's just a junk car," Tyler had said, casually dismissing the consequences of his actions. Now, Raymond had the chance to confront him in court. "Your Honor," Raymond said, his voice steady but with a quiet resolve, "I don't care about the car. What bothers me is the way he treated me. I've worked my whole life to build something, and he destroyed it without a second thought. And then he mocked me. He never apologized. He just shrugged it off." Judge Judy glanced at Tyler, who looked like he might be shrinking in his seat. It was time to get to the truth. "Mr. Harrington," Judge Judy said, her voice dropping with gravity, "you may have thought your actions were insignificant, but they weren't. Your wealth, your privilege, do not give you the right to treat others with disrespect. This is not just about the car. This is about accountability." The room held its breath. Tyler opened his mouth to speak, but his words failed him. He had no defense. For the first time in his life, Tyler felt vulnerable. The silence in the courtroom seemed to stretch for an eternity. Tyler's gaze flitted nervously across the room, but it always came back to Judge Judy's unblinking stare. She hadn't said anything, but her presence spoke volumes. Raymond, on the other hand, sat back in his chair, his hands folded neatly in front of him. Judge Judy broke the silence. "Mr. Harrington, let's talk about responsibility. You were speeding through the parking lot, showing off for your friends. You were more concerned with your image than with the people around you. Am I wrong?" Tyler swallowed hard, his eyes darting between the judge and Raymond. "No, Your Honor, I wasn't thinking. It was just a mistake," he muttered, his voice losing some of its earlier bravado. Raymond's eyes tightened, but he didn't speak. He didn't need to. The evidence was already in front of them. The security footage showed Tyler's car speeding through the parking lot, the sound of tires screeching before the collision. Tyler's actions weren't just a mistake, they were reckless. "Mr. Ellis is not here to listen to excuses, Mr. Harrington. He's here for justice," Judge Judy said, her voice cutting through the tension in the room. She turned her attention to the security footage once more. The footage displayed Tyler's car slamming into Raymond's old Corolla, the impact loud and unforgiving. The video clearly showed Tyler laughing with his friends, completely unconcerned about the damage he had caused. And the way he dismissed Raymond afterward, it was as if he thought he was untouchable. Judge Judy didn't need any more evidence. She looked back at Tyler, her gaze piercing. "This isn't a game, Mr. Harrington. There are consequences for every action. This courtroom is where you will face them." Tyler's face twisted with frustration. "I didn't hurt anyone, okay? I didn't mean for it to go this far." But Judge Judy wasn't having it. "Mr. Harrington," she said, her voice rising slightly, "you don't get to decide what matters and what doesn't. That's not how this works." Raymond stood, holding up his hands. "I don't want any more than what's fair. I just want to be treated with dignity." Tyler seemed to deflate in his chair. It was clear now that this case wasn't just about the accident. It was about how Tyler had treated people, how his entitlement had caused harm that went beyond a simple fender bender. The tension in the courtroom was suffocating. Tyler's demeanor had completely shifted. The cocky teenager who had walked in with a sense of superiority now seemed small, vulnerable. Judge Judy turned to Raymond. Double quotes, "Mr. Ellis, I understand this has been difficult for you. Please continue." Raymond nodded and took a deep breath. He had worked his whole life. He had taken pride in his job, his work ethic, his modest life. But nothing in his life had prepared him for the sting of disrespect from someone like Tyler. The young man's entitlement, his refusal to acknowledge the consequences of his actions, it was something Raymond had never imagined facing. "The car wasn't just a car to me," Raymond said, his voice breaking a little. "It was my way to work. It was all I had. I take care of what I have, and that car helped me do that." Tyler took that away, and instead of apologizing, he laughed. Raymond's voice was shaky now, but his eyes remained clear. "I worked hard for that car, for everything I have. And now I'm paying for his mistakes." Tyler's eyes flickered with something between guilt and defiance. "I didn't know you needed it that much," he said, his voice quieter now. But there was still a hint of arrogance underneath. Raymond's eyes burned with emotion. "You don't have to know," he said softly. "You just need to respect people. Treat them with dignity, that's all." Judge Judy sat back in her chair, letting the words sink in. This was about more than just the crash. This was about respect. It was about holding someone accountable, no matter their age, wealth, or background. Tyler shifted in his chair again, suddenly aware of the weight of what was happening. He had thought he could get away with this. He had thought his wealth would shield him, that his father's influence would solve everything. But Judge Judy was a force he couldn't manipulate. "Mr. Harrington," Judge Judy said, her voice calm but firm, "you need to understand the severity of this. You don't get to walk away from this, no matter how much money you think you have." The gavel fell once again, and Tyler sat there, waiting for Judge Judy's final decision. The courtroom was filled with anticipation. "Mr. Harrington," Judge Judy said, her tone resolute, "you have shown no remorse, no understanding of the pain you've caused. Your wealth cannot protect you here, and it cannot protect you from your own actions." Tyler's stomach churned as he heard the words. He had never felt so exposed, so powerless. "Raymond Ellis will be awarded the full amount in damages," Judge Judy continued. "And you, Mr. Harrington, will have to work to pay for the restitution. Perhaps, in doing so, you'll learn what it means to respect others." Tyler's face fell. The judgment was final, asterisk.